Hi and welcome to today's video. Today we're talking about the supply of Bitcoin. As you may know, the Bitcoin supply is limited with 21 million Bitcoin that will ever get into supply. So in today's video we're gonna discuss if it's theoretically possible to increase the supply of Bitcoin and what impact that will possibly have on the value of Bitcoin and which parties are actually required, or what would be the process to doing these changes in the Bitcoin protocol and who has to agree. There is also the miners involved and so on, as you will see in the next slides. So first of all, if we look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin is digital, of course, so it's all written in the source code. If we look here in the source code at line 25, it states static const, and here is the 21 million coins defined. So this means that the Bitcoin protocol is limited to 21 million Bitcoin. And according to this protocol, or according to the code, there can never be more printed because this is hard coded inside of the code. But of course, everything that is coded can be changed if enough people, if the Bitcoin community would agree to do this. We discussed in one of the videos about quantum computing that it may be necessary in the future to implement a quantum safe algorithm to avoid the hacking of a quantum computer into the algorithm or into the encryption actually of Bitcoin. So it may be necessary for Bitcoin to adopt the encryption mode, and this would also have been done, or this is also done in the code, of course, because the encryption of Bitcoin is also managed in the code. But also, as you see here in the line 25, it's also the limited supply. So theoretically, it would be possible if the community would agree to it. Let's look which parties actually would have to be involved into this agreement and what would have to happen to get that through actually. So on the one side, of course, there has to be developers, and the developers, they would have to propose and implement the changes. So the changes in the code are very fast to do. As you see here, they would just have to change the number to whatever, 40 million or 50 million or 100 million. They would just change it here in the code. Then they would actually propose these changes. So like we discussed in a different video where we talked about who can actually change Bitcoin's code and who is able to publish changes, who is able to verify changes, this would be the same process. You would actually submit your proposal, then there would be a maintainer who has got more rights, and he would be able to sign this commit or agree to these changes, and he will use his PGP key to sign this into the new Bitcoin protocol, into the Bitcoin code. This is because not everybody, of course, can make changes to Bitcoin. So just every developer can actually submit a change, but just the maintainers at the end will do a final check and will have a look if this can be implemented. Of course, it's not just a process that a developer would come up with the idea, oh, I want to change the supply to 21 million. There's also the community behind it. This will be very, very hard discussions because a lot of Bitcoiners, or I can't imagine that any Bitcoiners will actually agree to improve or to raise the supply, because it actually will bring down the value. Everything that is limited, this is one of the main values of Bitcoin, that the supply is limited and nobody, no central bank, no company internally or whatever can decide to print more. So there would be a lot of discussions in the community, and it's very unlikely that it would come to a point where people would agree that a developer can actually submit the code to the repository and everybody would agree and the maintainer would sign it. But theoretically it is possible. But then if the code actually got submitted and gets signed by a maintainer, so the code would now include or have the different supply number inside, then what needs to happen is that also all the Bitcoin nodes and also the miners update their software. And in the case of the supply change, we would have to have a hard fork. And a hard fork is actually a fork of Bitcoin, like Bitcoin Cash. It's taking one Bitcoin protocol and basically making a new one out of it. It's the same as you would see Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, and so on. You just simply decide that you are going to make a hard fork, and this hard fork then will have this new supply. The best example is maybe Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. So Ethereum Classic stayed as it was originally, and then Ethereum forked out of it and made his own Ethereum basically. So what would have to happen is a hard fork, and the community would have to agree on all the process and when the miners should update, when the hard fork should happen, and so on. And at the end, even if everything would happen, the miners would still have to update the software on their mining machines. The nodes have to have updated and upgraded, and every miner could decide he gonna stick with the original version with the 21 million and not go to the new version. So theoretically, if developers would decide that they want to fork it, but the miners wouldn't agree, then there would be a hard fork, but not much would happen, because like we talked in a different video, Bitcoin's core value is actually the network effect. If you cannot convince investors, miners, and the community, developers, and so on to join your new hard fork, then basically you will not be successful. It's like cloning Facebook and convincing your friends to move now to this much better platform. It's simply not gonna happen. So theoretically, it is possible that the supply of Bitcoin will be changed in the code, but the community, the developers, the miners, everybody would have to agree in the community that this is a good thing, and this is very, very unlikely that it will happen. If it would happen on the developer side, there are still the miners and the nodes that could not implement the changes, and the question is, would it then give would there then be a hard fork? Maybe there would be a hard fork and a different or a new Bitcoin hard fork, but nobody would actually apply it or nobody would update it, so it would not make much sense and everybody would stay with the original one and not much actually happened. But it's very unlikely, because why should actually some leading developers decide to do that? So it's very unlikely, as you see. I hope that was useful. If you watched that on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, and I see you in the next video. Have a good rest of your day. Bye bye.